Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for Bitcoin price prediction based on Elliott wave analysis. This is the indicator analysis for Bitcoin. We're gonna dive, of course, first with Elliott wave to see the probabilities, and of course we're gonna see the indicators, how it confirms those probabilities and which one is the highest. So basically, what we are looking at right now is a potential, of course, wave 1 or a wave A as an impulse over there. And we have kind of a correction. It has two phases as correction, of course, as ABC in case you are in a wave 1, 2 here. You're looking at a wave 3. This is your triangle that we are expecting, of course, since Friday. And for the weekend to range as a triangle, we're looking still for a move toward the upside for a wave 5. In case that we are in an A, a B, and a C toward the upside, finished already a wave C there, we have to be careful. This, of course, this correction can be a triangle again, having 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, a finished wave C. You are looking here at an impulse toward the downside, which it can be, of course, a wave A or a wave 1. In this case scenario, if we have a wave C over there, you might still be, of course, in an A, B, and a C toward the downside as a first testing scenario for this downtrend 1-to-1 fib level 113K. In case that the price overshoots this, meaning of course we're heading potentially for a wave 3 as 1, 2, 3, taking of course the invalidation of this impulse in case you are still in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the wave 4 is not allowed to interfere with the zone 1, meaning confirmation that we are moving downwards and the direction of the market for Bitcoin is of course toward the downside. As a Bitcoin dominance, we can see that the dominance is proceeding its impulse toward the downside for a wave 5 here to finish a wave 3 because we have double 1-2s of course in the top here after breaking this trend, and we're still looking for lower, meaning of course higher potential that Bitcoin moves toward the downside because of course this is a finished totally trend toward the upside for the bull run, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The wave 5 is finished as an ending diagonal. And in this case scenario, it will give, of course, a little bit here more chance for the altcoins to move for higher prices. As we are looking at today, we see, of course, the altcoins surging and moving for higher prices. As we know on this channel, we have claimed already this is the alt season, and based on the dominance as well, we can see it very clearly. Now let's move, of course, for the indicators to see what's going on Bitcoin for the 1 hour chart on the RSI here. On the RSI, of course, we can see some triangle even following the RSI, the same pattern for the price. That means a weakness. We don't see really a good divergence or a convergence as well yet for this potential triangle. However, if we want to follow this triangle, of course, we have to make sure that the wave E doesn't, of course, surpass these lows. Once you surpass these lows, the triangle is invalidated, and of course, this is gonna transform directly to an ABC as mentioned, or of course, for a wave 3. On the RSI 1 hour chart, we don't see any signal yet. Of course, even there is no bullish divergence here. We cannot see even not a bearish divergence as well, and that means of course the price is still consolidating. I believe that Bitcoin is gonna range a little bit for a while, still can be moving up and down here to finish a triangle, maybe later on then creating some divergences toward the upside. On the daily chart for the RSI, we can see a clear bearish divergence. Of course, as you can see, we have, of course, here this divergence with the tops here, creating, of course, a pressure for the lower prices. It might still, of course, get one more high, but even with one more high, we might confirm even much more this divergence and start to move towards the downside, which, of course, create a bigger bearish scenario. As we mentioned, it might be an A, B, and a C here to finish up, of course, an expanding flat. Very massive wave C on the daily around the 60s, 66K can be, of course, coming back to that price as a bear market. And of course, starting a bull run again, because this was your bear market, which is a beautiful bear market, I would call, taking a new highs with an expanding flat wave B, and just having one aggressive wave C toward the downside, coming back to this very stronghold resist support, I would say, and then of course moving towards a new bull run toward the upside from that area. So this is what the RSI shows, of course, on the daily. For the weekly as well, if we want to check much more clearer what we might have as a bull run here or as a bear market, you can see as well a very clear divergence unfolding here. We see, of course, the bearish signal on our RSI indicator that we have. Of course, this is made, of course, for KG trading channel, where we see, of course, very clear signals for bearish here. And we see a very big divergence, of course, with the price action, meaning even the price, if it comes to this area, which I doubt it if it's gonna be broken again. Yeah, I think that the things might be under pressure for Bitcoin here. Yep, so this is regarding the RSI. If we take a look also at the MACD, so the MACD is a little bit different here than the RSI, not so much, knowing that we see, of course, some green volume here in the histogram. We see, of course, some momentum, but the momentum, if you have realized, is, of course, shrinking towards the downside. It's not that always we see some green there, meaning it's going to be very moving towards the upside, despite that the line, MACD line and the signal line are open and still, of course, open for higher potentially, but this can change at any time. Start to see here some lighter green and some volume moving towards the downside. Don't forget that the momentum is starting to decrease from this area, and we see, of course, a potential of a rebound towards the downside here, knowing that the volume of the bearish here, of the selling, is increasing, and that is a significant signal. It's not always that we have to look at the current prices and the current data. You always have to, of course, look back with the MACD. Plus, also, there is a confirmation for a big divergence as bearish. For also the MACD is the same as for the RSI. So we might start to see, of course, a fall down sooner or later for the Bitcoin. And based on the dominance as well, of course, this is a much bigger evidence. So basically on the daily also we see much clearer price here and much clearer data. We can see, of course, that the light green has already to unfold. We're very close for a bearish cross here. On the daily, potentially you can have it very soon, so we have to be careful from the signal. Of course, you might get one more high, but don't be fooled by this one more high. Of course, it might simply finish here 1 2 3 4 5 for an A, B and a C, and yeah, because this might be, of course, here a WX and a YI, three waves and 1 2 3 4 5, simply finishing a structure here. Otherwise, even you can be bearish from there. As we mentioned, this can be a 1 2 3 4 5, so we have to be careful finishing WX and a Y. The wave Y is a zigzag, so yeah, be careful with this signal. We can see also that the volume is decreasing for the sellers here. Of course, they might start to increase again toward the downside, so we have to be careful, of course. On the 1 hour chart, also for the MACD, if we're gonna see a move toward the upside, can be, of course, potentially can be, but we don't see like very clear signals. This is also the very low amount of red, signaling, of course, that the things can still, of course, unfold something towards the upside. However, you would like to see, of course, this MACD line opening and breaking the midline. Don't forget, you are under the midline of the MACD, which is still can be very potential to move toward the downside. So also be careful with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not showing strength anymore as before, and we know also on the momentum here we are moving toward the downside. And I would like to mention also, before proceeding with indicators here, I would like to show the channeling. So based on the channeling here, we see that we are right now under the base channel a little bit. So if we don't break it up again, that might be, of course, very dangerous. We have to be careful, of course, from the signal as well. And yep, so let's move for the KGT. So on the KGT 5-minute chart, we can see a bullish divergence, giving us, of course, a little bit higher prices here, as we can see starting from this signal. This is working perfectly, but of course, we would like to see higher prices. Now, what I see on the KGT that we're moving higher, and the CVD line is moving also for higher, which it can, of course, unfold a bearish signal very soon. And this, of course, because here we go. If we get a little bit a lower signal, which is becoming strong, by the way, 226, and it is in convergence with the price action. Now, of course, it can be broken. And we see already a big divergence here on the strong signals, and at the same time convergence, right? So we cannot say we are bullish, we cannot say we are bearish, we're still consolidating. Now we know, as per Elliott wave, which is perfect tool always also to give a decision after a triangle, you would like to see continuation toward the upside, since the trend is still for higher. Therefore, I trust KGT still, of course, and I think that we're still gonna see one more high, but this one more high is gonna unfold something very, very intense potentially for the sellers, and yeah, be careful, of course, with it. On the 15-minute chart as well, if we take a bigger overview here on the 15-minute chart, we can see, of course, that this move toward the upside has started to be at the end. We see a very strong sell signal on the top, meaning we have to be careful. And here we go. We saw something as impulsive toward the downside. Can it continue towards lower prices? Very likely can be. However, based on the CVD line and the price action 15-minute chart, I still see one more high. Okay, on the lower signals, I still see one more high can be very potential for a Bitcoin, of course, to finish up, of course, this trend. And final indicator I would like to share here is, of course, the volume. The volume on the daily, you can see a very, very strong volume, very high volume at this top, where we start our impulse in the lower time frame. Yeah, so we have to be careful also from this very high amount of volume that you didn't saw like it before, even during this massive move toward the upside. The highest volume that you got, of course, at the top also here, signaling that this might not be an impulse, this might be corrective. Very important signal, because if you are in a wave 3 here as 1, 2, 3, you would like to see the highest amount of volume in the middle of this wave 3, which is not the case scenario. The highest amount of volume was given at the end of the structure, showing a potential, of course, of a finished structure here as W, X, and a Y, and turning this into 3 ways, and then 3 ways potentially can't be still possible unless one more high even is gonna finish an A, B, and a C towards the upside, moving, of course, again for lower prices. And of course, a final thing I would like to mention here, that even with this one more high toward the upside, which I believe it can reach the 1.38, 126 can finish up exactly a fib level for a wave B, and then start this move, of course, for lower prices. The next target might be 66K 258 for Bitcoin. That was it for Bitcoin for the indicators analysis. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.